Hey, what up, guys? So, while I was researching and prepping myself for a video that I'm gonna do regarding the build up to the semi-final between the Bulls and the Sharks, I sort of went into a rabbit hole regarding Chiliboy Ralepelle. As you know, he played for both Sharks and Bulls, and his career is kinda weird. So I'm just going to start playing a clip of the video that I actually saw of his interview with ENCA in 2019. This is after he was randomly tested January of that year as part of a group of 6 Sharks players that were being tested during their camp of pre-season for the Super Rugby. And in this video, I'm going to play the first clip. He starts off by actually denying that he was responsible for testing positive.
They saying you tested for a drug called Zeranol. Were you knowingly using this drug?
No, I did not take anything like it. I did not take anything, to the detriment of my sporting career, so it's something that I wouldn't do.
In the same interview, he then continues to claim that these are false allegations, including ones from 2014 when he was in France and he got banned for 2 years while playing for Toulouse in France.
The problem would be now in 2014 you received a 2-year ban when you were playing for Toulouse when you tested for an anabolic steroid, drostanolone, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, and you served a 2-year ban.
Well, exactly that. First of all, I think one thing that I want to make clear is that, all these allegations that have been made against me, actually, I believe is all being false allegations.
On this third clip, you're going to see that he actually starts insinuating that there's some underhandedness. Somebody's out to get him. Doesn't provide any proof. He says he can't talk about it, but he says something like this.
Which allegations are false? The 2014 one?
All the allegations.
But you served a ban, though, for the 2014 one.
Correct. Mm-hmm. But there was incident that happened. There's things that kind of arose in the whole case that I can't disclose at this moment of time.
Did you fight the case at that point?
Correct. I did fight the case, and we came out second best.
Okay, and you still call that allegation and this one now that we're talking about the Zeranol?
Correct.
So after watching these clips, you start getting a feeling that there might be a reason why his career derailed so much. And it got me thinking, and that's where the rabbit hole part of the video that you're going to be watching now led me down. Because then the question that props up in my mind was, the guy was earmarked to be the first Springbok, black Springbok captain, Siya Kolisi. He got banned 3 times. First time, it wasn't his fault. The other 2 times, it was his fault, but he claims it was not his fault. Somebody's trying to get to him. So I'm trying to figure out what exactly is the story regarding Chiliboy Ralepelle, one of the first guys, black guys, that we really thought was going to reach the top. And his career just ended in 2019, 2020. Didn't make a big splash. Didn't help that the Springboks won the World Cup, so nobody was paying attention to that stuff. But yeah, it just ended like that. My name is Tony. This is Sports Cartel. Thank you for joining me. Here we go. Now, 2006 was actually the first, what I would say, prominent years in Chiliboy's career. In 2006, he makes his debut for the Springboks at age 19 against the All Blacks in the second half. And from there, he starts actually making his way up the ranks within the Bulls setup because he was signed to the Bulls. But the major part comes at the end of the year when he actually captained the Springboks in a non-official test match against the World 15. And this wasn't out of the blue, if you want to call it that, but it felt rushed, but it wasn't out of the blue because he had captained the under-19 and under-21, which was a team that included Pierre, Spies and Pietersen. But after that, while he's working his way up, this is 2006, he doesn't make 2007, 2008, 2009, Heineken Meyer leaves the pool. And the next guy who's there is Frans Ludeke. He's the new coach. And Frans Ludeke does one of the things which I think Chiliboy might be alluding to. Chiliboy is a Springbok, 23-year-old at this time, world ahead of him he's got everything, going for him. Frans Ludeke decides to convert Derek Kun from being a flanker to being a hooker. Now that puts Chiliboy on the bench and actually starts stunting his growth when he was actually meant to be the main guy, at the Bulls at this time. A lot of people were asking, I was asking myself, even my friends were asking themselves, why would Frans Ludeke do this? Give the guy a chance. That's when it started. At the back of that is 2009, but he was still being chosen for the Springboks. Now you can start seeing where the problem is. He's not a starter, he's on the bench at his club behind Derek Kun, but he's still getting picked for the Springboks. A lot of people are going to have issues with that, and it's going to have a lot of pressure on him. The second thing that happens, this is now the drug issue, starts creeping in. 2009, at the end of the season, him and Pietersen get tested and they get found to have banned substance in their blood. They get sent home from the overseas tour at the end of the season, and it's a big scandal. At that time, Peter de Villiers is actually the coach of the Springboks. He comes out and says, could have been anybody because everybody had the same supplements that they had. But they were tested and they got found out.
South African rugby union players Chiliboy Ralepelle and Bjorn Basson have been sent home from the Springboks European tour after failing drugs tests. The hooker and winger tested positive for a banned stimulant. Coach Peter de Villiers has said the whole squad may have consumed the banned substance. An energy drink is being tested. John Haysbell, ABC News.
It wasn't his fault, but you can imagine the mental stress. You've got an issue that you're not playing at your club, you're still getting picked for the Springboks. And then now you've got an issue that you've tested positive for a supplement that you got from the management, and you get sent from home in disgrace. And it was a big scandal if you were around the time. Now, 2011 rolls around. It's a World Cup year. His third choice behind Bismarck and John Smith going to the World Cup. Gets a few minutes, and this is a complicated time for the Springboks, basically from the fan perspective, because John Smith is not the best. Bismarck is actually meant to be number one. If you remember, 2 years or a year before, Peter de Villiers was trying to change John Smith from being a hooker to being a prop because he wanted to play both Bismarck and John Smith in the same team, because Bismarck was actually the best hooker in the world at that time. So Ralepelle, while that thing is happening at the top there, he gets caught up in it. But nonetheless, 2011 goes, John Smith's out of the window now. 2012 comes. He's playing some of his best rugby. He plays about 16, 17 games. Some of his best rugby. Gets injured. Timelessly gets injured. Boom. There's another issue in his way. Recovers. 2013, again, having a barnstorming year, one of the best, if not the best hooker in South Africa at that time, doesn't get injured this time, doesn't get picked for the Springboks. Henneke Meyer, who was the coach of the Springboks at that time, he chooses to go with Adrian Strauss, and Chiliboy doesn't get a look in. So much so that he doesn't even get offered a Springbok contract. At that time, he's getting offers from overseas. He's like, if this, I'm going to bounce. And of course, at that time, if you bounce overseas, you're not going to get a look in terms of the Springboks because they had a policy of not picking overseas players at that time. So his career gets stunted again on the Springboks while he's at Toulouse. At Toulouse, he plays less than a year, 2013, 2014, steroid use. Gets tested, gets banned. 2 years out of his life. So 2014, 2016, that's the next time we see him when he's at the Sharks. But again, not getting picked, having a look in at the Springboks, not getting a Springbok contract, and now getting banned when he was at Toulouse. I'm sure that would crush anybody and put pressure on them to actually start taking risks. Not an excuse, just putting out the circumstances. So 2016 rolls around and Chiliboy is back from France and he's done his 2 years suspension. Back at the Sharks and he's building up his career again. 2016 goes, 2017, he starts having a look in terms of the Springboks. At this time, Coetzee is the coach. But something funny happens at the Sharks, where Robert du Preez is the coach. Robert du Preez decides that Franco Maré and Armand van der Merwe were better suited, more than a Springbok. Springbok, at that time, he was still a current Springbok because Coetzee was actually picking him for the Springboks. But he didn't get a chance to play even in the Currie Cup playoffs 2017. So that's another thing now. Again, he's getting picked for the Springboks, but he's not getting picked for his club, the Sharks. So 2017 rolls around. 2018, Coetzee is gone, Rassie is back, and Rassie's first, series against the English. It's a 3-match series. The last match is at the Newlands. Chiliboy actually starts that last game. So he's right back into the Springbok picture. Little did we know that was his actually last test. Because in 2019, January, that's when you have the random test that got him banned for 8 years, which means at that time he was 33, career over, done and dusted. So from being touted, all right, legitimately, you captained your school, you captained the under-19s, captained the under-21 South African teams as the future Springbok captain. You end up playing 25 times for the Springboks, only starting 4 games in a span of 12 years, which averages out to about 2 games per season. This is mind-boggling. Sad, actually. What do I say as my final thoughts? I think there's much to be said about player management, especially in those days. And I dare say, especially player management for black players in those days. And it's kind of different. I'm going to go into how I felt, how Rassie is doing it now. But I feel the guy was mismanaged at the Springboks. He was too young, 19. He was too young to be in the Springboks, especially when there was such heavy traffic during that time. He was rushed, and I think it had something to do with the dreaded word transformation. I mean, he went to Pretoria High, which is part of the system, the rugby system in South Africa. So a lot of people were looking at him as part of the system, the acceptable guy to have in there. They rushed him in, and he wasn't ready. I don't think he was ready physically. That's why he's having a lot of injuries. I don't think he was ready mentally as well to actually take that step up. The Bulls, the serious brain fart that Frans Ludeker had and decided to play Kun, bad. The Sharks, as much as they gave him a lifeline, but he was also mismanaged there in terms of playing. I mean, who even remembers Armand van der Merwe? Who even remembers Franco Maré? I'm not saying, they're bad players. I'm a Shark supporter. But I mean, even I sort of forgot about them. But they were ahead of him while he was in a Springbok lineup or Springbok environment. But that does not excuse his part in terms of getting his career down the drain. Doping. You first got away with it because it wasn't your responsibility. It was the Springboks management responsibility. And then you do it in France. You get caught. And then you do it at the Sharks. You get caught. Maybe your career was meant to end. But that doesn't excuse how you were managed. And I agree. Some mismanagement, but personal responsibility as well to Chiliboy in terms of taking banned substances or not knowing what you're taking as a professional rugby player. So I'm just wondering what you guys think, man. I think that I've just highlighted it. It wasn't a video that I was thinking of doing because I was researching another video, but I just found it interesting how his career went down the drain, especially when a lot of people had so much hope and so much well-wishing for him to actually be the first official Springbok captain. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, and maybe we'll revisit another day. But it was a sad career to actually go back into and see what actually happened and how things panned out for him. Anyway, that's me. Cheers. Stay strong.